Assalamualaikum and welcome. Let's start our discussion about central nervous systems. We have a study about central nervous systems that consist of brain and spinal cords. Let us study. We will study about their protections, like how central nervous system is protected. Brain and spinal cord are protected in our body. Both are protected in three ways. By three ways, it is important. MCQs like cranium is the first protection size. Cranium is the part of the skull protect brain and neural arches of vertebrae of vertebral columns. Then brain and spinal cord are also protected by a triple layer of meninges. First cranium, then meninges, and the cerebrospinal fluid similar in composition to blood plasma. And the third is the cerebrospinal fluid. And important MCQs is that its composition is much the same like that of the plasma. It is also a very important MCQs. Then it was the neurons of brain and spinal cords. It cushions against bumps and jolts. It help us from sudden trauma of nerve, brains and spinal cords. Both spinal cords and brains are hollow. Like how these are hollow, spinal cord have central canal and brain has cavities or ventricle filled with intercerebrospinal fluid. Then it is also present between meninges, cerebrospinal fluid. Then we will talk about brain. Brain is consist of three major types: forebrain, midbrain, and hindbrain. If we consider the forebrain is further divided into the three parts. These three parts of thalamus, limbic system, and cerebrum. And what about thalamus? Thalamus carries sensory informations to the cerebrum, and limbic systems, and these informations contain sensory input from auditory and visual pathways, like from the our eyes, from our ears, from our skins, etc. Then limbic systems, it is the collection of different parts of the brains that work together. Like limbic system works together to produce our most basic and primitive emotions, drives, behavior, including fear, rage, tranquility, hunger, thirst, sexual responses, and also form the memories. Limbic systems consist of hypothalamus, amygdala, and hippocampus. What about hypothalamus? It has hormone production and neural connections, and through hormone production and neural connections, it is the major coordinating centers of the body and control body's temperatures, menstrual cycle, water balance, sleep wake cycles. And what about amygdala? Here is our amygdala cluster. These contain clusters of neuron body sensation of pleasure. It is for pleasure, punishment, sexual arousal, and also involved in the feeding of fear and wrath. Then hippocampus, the more important part is our long-term memory, and it is important for our learning. Like here's, it is for learning. Hippocampus. Cerebrum is the largest part of brain and forebrains both, and divided into two halves: cerebral hemispheres, left cerebral hemisphere, and right cerebral hemispheres. These halves communicated with each other like a short band of axons. It is composed of corpus callosum. It is important MCQ that corpus callosum is composed of axons. Like here is our here is our forebrain, then reduce midbrains, then hindbrain. It is here is our thalamus, cerebrum, here is hippocampus, amygdala, and hypothalamus. It is our limbic system. Here is our forebrain. Then cerebrum's billions of neurons are packed in this pod. It has outer regions called cerebral cortex, and cerebral cortex form many folds, and these folds are called convolutions, and these convolutions increase the surface area. This part receives sensory information, process it, store some in the memory for future use, direct voluntary movements, and responsible for poor understanding process that we call as thinking. It is also involved in thinking is important excuse that it is involved in thinking. Then cerebral cortex contain primary sensory areas. Here, primary sensory areas, where signals that originate from the sensory organs such as eyes and such as ears are received and converted into the impressions, like areas from the eyes are converted into the light or objects we see, and from the ears are converted into the sounds such as lights and the sounds, and nearby associated areas interpret this information, and also in areas near the cerebrum also interpret this information and interpret this particular primary informations into the subjective useful information. It area is also involved in the speech. It is important, very important, and receive and interpret sensation after touch from all part of body, then touch sensations. Then area is also center for sending impulses to the voluntary muscles. It is also for impulses for voluntary muscles, cardiac muscles, controlling movement, also involved in the intelligence, reasoning, and judgments. It is all about our cerebrums. Then what about the hemispheres? Left cerebral hemisphere control the right side of body, and right cerebral hemisphere control the left side of body. Then what about midbrain? Midbrain is very reduced in human, and it contain auditory relay center and the center that control the reflex movement of eyes. Two important functions of the midbrain: auditory relay center and the center that control the reflex movement of eye. Then midbrains contain reticular formations. It is important which is the relay centers. It is also relay center connecting hindbrain with the forebrains. Reticular formations connect midbrain from with hindbrains. Then reticular formations is very important in screening the input informations before they reach the higher brain areas. It receive input information from lower areas like spinal cords and from other part of the skins, and transmit it to the higher brain area like cerebrums, thalamus, hypothalamus, etc. Then what about hindbrains? Hindbrains cloud, medulla pons, and cerebellum. Medulla control the autonomic functions such as breathing, heart rate, blood pressure, and swallowing. And the certain neurons in pons, like what is pons? It is above the medulla. Pons is above the medulla. Its position is above the medulla. Located above the medulla, it is used for influence transition between sleep and wakefulness, rate and pattern of breathings. Cerebellum is important in coordinating movement of the body. The cerebellum guides. What about cerebellum? It guides smooth and accurate motions, maintain body position. Cerebellum is also involved in learning and memory storage for behaviors. It is best developed in birds which engage in complex activity of flight. So it is also an important MCQ. All the function of different part of the brain is very important. Then spinal cord. Medulla narrowed down into the spinal cord, form the spinal cord. It is a oval shaped hollow cylinder spinal cord running through the vertebral column. It is between the vertebral column. Here is the spinal cord. Here is like our brain. There is our brain. Here is our spinal cord. Then continuations of medulla, and above it there is spinal cord. There are a vertebral column. Here is our vertebral column. It is in the vertebral column. Narrows down. No, it is the oval-shaped hollow spinal cord running through the vertebral column. It made up of the very large number of neurons. Neurons large and cell bodies in cross section. What is the cross section structure of cell? It has a butterfly shaped gray matter. So when we cut spinal cord from here, it has a butterfly shaped gray matters containing central canal. Central canal has gray matters, and its outer portion contain white matter. Here it is a gray matter, outer portion is a white matter. Gray matters contain like non-myelinators or white matter myelinators. Gray matter is another part of the nervous system, consists of cell bodies and non-myelinators. It contains cell bodies and non-myelinators. And white matter is myelinator nerve fiber tracts. It is an important gray matter and white matters and myelinator. What is myelinator and what are the non-myelinators? What are the function of spinal cords? This is the center for great many reflexes. Different type of reflexes are controlled by mm, spinal cords. It is pathway for conduction of impulses to and from different part of body and brains. It conduct informations to brain and convert back these informations to the spinal cord and receive information from brain and transfer it to the body, and receive information from body and transfer it to the brain.